Akpabio planted impeachment story to pit Tinubu against Northerners. Senator Alajas, welcome to the news, and please subscribe to our channel to get notified when we post hot juicy news updates. Please click on the notification bell. The lawmaker representing Adamawa North Senatorial District, Senator Ishaku Abo, has asserted that the Senate President Godswill Akpabio, along with his associates, were the ones who disseminated a story about his rumored intention to impeach him. Abo further added that the narrative was purportedly orchestrated by the Senate President to create discord between President Asiwaju Bola Tinubu and Northern politicians. The Niger Fresh News reports that Akpabio has strongly denied the allegation of an impending impeachment against him. He labeled these reports as both malicious and untrue. There were media reports on Saturday stating that plans were underway to unseat Akpabio as the president of the 10th Senate when the Senate reconvenes on September 26, 2023. The report also noted that two prominent senators from the Northwest and other senators across the National Assembly were already meeting and mapping out plans to carry out the daring move. The report also alleged that his senators believed that his Senate president was a rubber stamp for the presidency and may be unable to carry out his duty effectively. He stated, and I quote, "I woke up today to find over 10 mainstream Nigerian newspapers all carrying news of a plan to impeach Senator Akpabio by senators from northern Nigeria. The Whistler newspaper even went on to name Senator Abdulaziz Yari, Senator Mino Tambuwal, and Senator Ogoshi Onawo, among others, as the senators behind the move." Abo added, and I quote, "As a Northern Senator and an official of the Northern Senators Forum, I boldly affirm that this news is intentionally disseminated and propagated by the camp of the Senator Akpabio solely to pit President Bola Tinubu against the North. I call on Senator Akpabio to rein his camp as the seeds of discord and deep ethno-religious division that sowing will not bode well for the country. While the North, why in Saudi Arabia?" He remarked, if Akpabio and his camp wanted a united Senate, much like Ahmad Lawan, they would have known exactly what to do during Senate Standing Committee's allocation and supplementary budget resources allocation. But the camp of the SP continued to treat the Senate as a conquered territory where the winner walks away with the spoils of war, a classic case of the winner takes all. Expressing his frustration, the Adamawa lawmaker said, and I quote, "How do you justify a situation where out of a Category A committee, only 2 were granted to his perceived rivals? How will you explain the Senate where 83.1% of these appointed chairman of Category A committees also serve as vice chairman of Category A? How do you explain the third-term senator being denied the chairmanship of a committee? How do you justify the leadership of the Senate or being vice chairman of Category A committee? You cannot treat it as conquered people and then return to manipulators with planted and paid newspaper reports to set up against the president." Abo also claimed that the 10th Senate was the most condescending parliament. He further referred to the screening of ministerial nominees, where the Senate president sought clearance for certain nominees at the villa. He added that the Senate was not given the opportunity to decide on the fate of rejected nominees. Before embarking on its annual recess, the Senate screened 48 ministerial nominees sent by the president, with 45 receiving approval and 3 being rejected. Among the rejected 3 was former Kaduna State Governor Nasser El-Rufai. Reflecting on the screening, Abo queried, "Let me pose this question. During the ministerial screening, when 3 ministerial nominees were denied clearance by the Senate, which committee examined the petitions against them? Was it Ethics and Privileges, an ad hoc committee, or the Committee of the Whole? Was the report deliberated and debated during plenary? Was there any voting, either aye or nay? The Senate President simply absented himself during plenary, leaving the Senate waiting in the chamber for over 3 hours while he was at the villa. This is something that has never occurred in the history of the Senate." Then he returned and read out the names of those cleared and waved papers in his hand, citing security reports from NSA or DSS as the reason for not clearing some ministers. Abo added, In my opinion, this is the lowest the Senate has ever descended. Who granted NSA, DSS, DG, or IGP the authority to correspond with the Senate? What kind of communication is that? Executive communication or reckless communication? Are we telling Nigerians that the presidency and the security agencies did not conduct due diligence before sending the list to the Senate? Or is the Senate being used as a pawn in the power play of presidential aides? He went on to assert that Akpabio knows what it takes to maintain a peaceful Senate, akin to Ahmed Lawan, and not blackmailing senators from Northern Region and using newspaper reports to hoodwink the president. President Bola Tinubu worked hard to make Senator Akpabio the Senate president, but it is only Senator Akpabio who can effectively manage his colleagues and not Tinubu managing them on his behalf. Okay, so Senator Akpabio is saying nobody they try impeach Godwin Akpabio, because I think last week it was actually said that they were trying to impeach him. I was like, impeach him, what did he do? What did be your offense? You understand? Now he's saying no, he's no longer coming to how do I even put it? They say no, he's coming out to say, they already impeach him, or saying I think they want to impeach himself. I be how they even they talk. And I'm asking myself how? He dey paying them with the sweet I will go and sit down, not my food. See, people should start living the life without a northerner at the helms of affairs in this country. The earlier, the better. Senator Akpabio and President Tinubu will remain there for now, so stop all this holier than thou. Buhari played the game with rubber stamp Lawan, and heavy did not fall. Abo, go and look for sex toy to please yourself with. Oh my God, I know. I actually, this man, I know him from that video of him in a sex or in an adult store rather, where he went and he actually harassed one person, abused, or should I say physically abused someone. Okay. It is high time that the North must pay with their prices. Okay, pay the prices with their noses. The North is already fully divided. The North can just call